you doing? My name is Galliano, and I am from Boxabl. We're here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have been working for a few years now doing research, engineering, testing to try to create a more affordable building construction system. The goal was to create a system that is actually compatible with the factory so that we can mass produce housing in the factory the same way that we mass produce all our other modern products in the factory. So I'm standing right now in our warehouse building in Las Vegas, and we have the Casita right behind me here. Take a look there. And one of the cool things about this unit is it actually folds up to make the shipping more affordable. So I'm not sure how well you can see that, but basically we have two units here folded up. So there's the underneath floor of one of these units. Yeah, so we've got one house right here, 8.5 feet wide, and then another house over here, 8.5 feet wide. 8.5 feet is the magic number to make them highway legal. A lot of other modular companies ship wide loads, and it becomes very expensive.
Is the Casita the only model that you guys are currently building?
Yeah, so we're just a new company and we're just starting out. We wanted to keep things simple by just beginning with the Casita. So basically there it is, 20 by 20 room module. It's gonna be the smallest size room module in our system. Actually, eventually, we'll fit them out with different interior floor plans like that. And then all the units will stack and connect. And then eventually we'll roll out actually bigger sizes. And because we're stacking and connecting, we can basically create any building type.
Got
so
it.
Here
and
we'll just walk in here.
Oh yeah, where are you in the process of production? You obviously have the prototype, but where are you in terms of sales and delivery of the first round of units?
Yeah, so we basically have a huge amount of interest from potential customers. So right now we have thousands of orders, but we don't have a real manufacturing facility set up yet. Just this small warehouse I'm in now where we've built a couple units, and we're continuing to onboard manufacturing equipment and kind of scale up. And then hopefully pretty soon we'll actually move into a much bigger building where we can produce, hundreds of these units per year early on.
And so Boxabl will be the designer, the manufacturer. I guess you'd be doing some involvement with the on-site sort of unfolding and assembly.
We're just really trying to avoid any site work as much as we can. We want to strictly remain as a room module manufacturer so we can focus on that and scale and focus on pushing the price down and the quality up. Our plan for the actual custom site work is to partner with local contractors who will do that work, do that customer hand-holding, upsell the customer, because there's a lot of different stuff that's site dependent that has to happen, with foundations, the location of the lot, the utilities, and all that kind of thing. And we thought it was better to leave that up to a local guy. We started working on this project kind of end of 2017, and have just really been, putting more and more resources behind it as we move forward and started to understand the significance this project could have if we execute on it correctly.
And with the pre-sales now online, like where are you on the timing of delivery for the first round of units?
So we're hoping that we can be set up and running in this new factory within a year and kind of cranking units up out full speed, maybe 1 or 2 per day. That's the goal right now. We'll see how well we do. Really very early stages, lots of unknowns. A lot of the stuff we're doing hasn't really been attempted before, so we'll see how long it takes, but I'm confident that we'll be able to make it happen.
Got it. And just a little more about the origins of Boxabl. So who was it founded by, and sort of what's that story?
Yeah, so basically myself, my father, Paolo Tiramani, and another guy named Kyle Denman, we started working on this um, a couple years ago and developing it and doing a lot of research on alternative building methods and then started engineering our own panels and then doing testing and all that. And it just kind of got better and better as we went forward. We started out originally just with the folding idea to solve the shipping problem. And then we actually dove in and started changing everything else. You know, basically these buildings are not lumber stick frame buildings like all the other buildings in North America. They use different materials and a different manufacturing method that we think is going to be much faster and more streamlined. You know, all along we thought this might be a good product for various different parts of the government, mainly like disaster relief. So that's good that they've noticed the product, and hopefully we'll be ordering quite a few of them soon, and maybe that'll be our first big customer.
And you had this unit prototype, this prototype unit showcased at prior conferences in Vegas and elsewhere, right? So it's been toured
Yeah.
by Ben Carson and various big government officials.
Yeah. So we brought a unit to Washington D.C. to the National Mall because the federal government HUD invited us to the Housing Innovation Showcase that they had up there. And that was one of the times that we toured with Ben Carson. And then again, earlier this year when we debuted this actual Casita model at the Builder Show in Vegas, Carson was there again. And there's a video tour on YouTube available for that one.
So you're standing in the living room right now, and this is a 20 by 20 footprint. So we're looking at 400 square feet across this floor plan. So what's the kind of overall layout of how this unit's set up?
Yeah, so basically it's a small unit, 20 by 20. Each corner is, one corner is couch, one corner is bed, one is bathroom, and one is kitchen. So it's really the smallest, you know, footprint you can reasonably use to house people. But it's very nice and feels very spacious. It's got high 9.5-foot ceilings. So this is the front door where we just came in. And then there's a little couch area in the corner there. And then here's a little center divider with a TV on it. And then the other side of that divider, you just have a little bed. Yeah, it's actually a queen size bed there. And another cool thing, this turns around.
Oh, very cool.
So they can watch the TV and the bed.
Yeah, you never take your eye off the binge watching a show.
Exactly. And then this corner here, kitchen. So it's very nice, full size appliances, lots of space. All of this ships in the unit. So like the fridge and the stove and the dishwasher, that all ships in the unit and then just sets up quickly.
Is and then the bathroom, I guess, is just around the corner there.
Yep, and there it is. There's the bathroom.
Oh wow, that mirror's cool. The recessed lighting.
Shower. Yeah, it's also heated, I think. And there we go.
And the ceiling heights, what did you say those were?
It's 9.5 feet. So it's a higher than a standard ceiling, which was another point that we thought was very important in making these things feel like, you know, upscale buildings.
The construction process. So these are panels that, or is this a converted shipping container with panels that fold out from the side, or what's the overall design?
It's not a shipping container. We find the dimensions on the shipping container are a little bit restrictive. Of course, for shipping, the closer you can get to it, a shipping container, the better. So that's why, you know, these units fold up to 8.5 feet. So basically the kitchen bathroom is all fixed and that portion doesn't fold. And then the rest of the house all folds up to get us to that 8.5 feet. Actual walls, floors and ceilings and the whole building envelope are built. Like I mentioned before, is not using the traditional lumber frame. It's actually a laminated panel technology where we basically have galvanized steel exterior that's painted, and then that's laminated to EPS foam, and then another piece of steel. And then on the interior wall is a type of ceramic board in place of sheetrock. So that stuff is great. It gives us lots of good qualities like water resistance, mold resistance, and it's very strong. So that's nice. And then, that's basically it. That makes up the majority of the structure and the walls, floor, and ceiling. There's also additionally around the perimeter of that sandwich panel I just described, there's a PVC extrusion that serves as an end cap, a hinge, and a gasket. And by building it this way, all the raw materials are processed automatically by computer cutting equipment into precision subcomponents that are then quickly assembled. And they're all bigger pieces, so there's just less of them. And there's less total raw materials when you compare it to a traditional building. So this is all stuff that's compatible with, robot arms and automation and very, very rapid production. So, we're taking our cues from Henry Ford, who's the inventor of the assembly line and, famously used for Ford trucks back in the day. And, that's the key here. The reason we all have nice cars and sneakers and iPhones, that's all because of the assembly line. That's the principle that makes it low cost and high quality. And it just has not been applied to housing really at all right now. And the guys that are trying to do it, it's very early stages, and there's a lot of issues along the way. We feel like we've kind of solved all those issues to finally make building construction compatible with the factory environment. So, if we have indeed done that, it's a very big deal, and we think it's going to change the whole economics surrounding housing forever.
How'd you guys choose the steel sandwich foam panels? Like, how did you choose that as the superior way to make the panels and sort of make this foldable design?
Yeah, I mean, really, what we've been doing now for several years is a lot of research and a lot of in-house testing and third-party testing to figure out what building materials are appropriate, what works, what makes more sense. And one of the goals for the product was to make something that works in every single environment. So like, for example, right now, if you build a house in Florida, you might build it for high winds, but if you build it in California, you might build it for earthquakes. We wanted one building system that works everywhere, so that this would be as scalable all around the world. So after doing all this research and testing, these are the building materials that we ended up with that satisfy all those requirements and give us an extremely strong, wind resistant, water resistant, fire resistant, earthquake resistant building that we think outperforms the traditional buildings.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so this meets both Florida wind code and earthquake building code in California. So from one coast of disasters to the other.
Yeah, we think it's going to do really well with all the different environmental issues and disasters and all that. And we think it'll be super strong. And eventually, we'll publish our third-party test data that kind of proves all those various claims, and that will help with our sales and marketing as well.
And on the pre-sales, are they limited to certain areas where you're making them compliant to the building code, or really the intention of this first round of manufacturing is to build it so it meets the building code of a bunch of different places? You don't really have to change anything from place to place.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking pre-orders from all over. I think it'll be no problem. The process we have to go through is state modular approval. So we're starting out with California because that's where we see the biggest market is.
Yeah.
And the reason for that big market is probably the new laws where they've kind of legalized the backyard houses. And that's is creating a huge demand for these kind of buildings in California.
What is the customization process? Again, you showed some sites on the outside of it. So Given that it's a foldable structure, I'm guessing there's not too much flexibility with the layout of or the configuration, depending on the
Yeah,
site. So
so
what kind of flexibility do you have?
we're trying to keep everything simple, especially at first, and just start with this fixed Casita product, and that's our 20 by 20 room. Now, all the rooms do stack and connect, so you can get into more custom, bigger structures. But this first model, the Casita, will probably be followed closely by another one that's just empty inside, and then another one that might be separated into two bedrooms. So those other units that we might need to connect and stack the different floor plans to make those different configurations possible. And then later on, we'll roll out actual bigger room modules. So this one's 20 by 20, but we can just keep going longer. So we can go all the way up to like maybe 20 by 60. And at that point, you have a really big 1,200-foot clear span open room that you can subdivide and connect and stack. And we think that, you know, you'll be able to basically achieve 90% of any building types you would want. It won't be exactly the way you want it, but it will be mostly, you know, look like the building you might want. For example, we're trying to keep the customization to a minimum. If you wanted to, you know, buy a new pickup truck, you might be able to pick the interior color or the trim or something, but you're not going to be able to say, oh, I want the bumper to be a foot more to the left. So that's kind of the principles we're looking to stick to is, you know, that these are customizable in the field, but they also allow us to have standardized production in the factory so that we can get to that efficiency and that quality and the cost that we need to be at. Basically, the unit's going to be dumped off our truck onto the site, and then you're going to move it on top of the foundation, and then you're going to use either, you know, a crane, a forklift, or we also have like a bracket pulley system that doesn't require any heavy equipment, and you're basically going to unfold it, and that means that the floor comes down, the walls come up, and the roof folds over. So pretty simple and quick to do. We've done it in like less than an hour. There's lots of videos on our YouTube and stuff of that kind of thing, and we think as we go forward, it'll be a little bit quicker and faster as we refine it as well. There's basically a dovetail joints and gaskets everywhere where it unfolds to keep the water out, and that should be great. And then yeah, it should be very simple.
Is there any on-site ceiling work, or do those dovetail gaskets keep it water sealed? Like, what do you have to do on site?
You should not need to spray in any caulking or anything like that. You should just unfold and be good to go.
And just, I don't know, maybe showing the camera up at the unit. So okay, so those seams, so that line across the top is sort of where the folding starts.
Yeah, and that's not going to be the case in the next version. We kind of just left that exposed for the builder show so people would know, oh, this isn't a normal house, and they would ask questions about it. I think the seams might look a little something more like this. I don't know if you can see this one here. It's just basically, it's actually going to be smaller than that in practice. And then you can easily cover that with a little bit of like drywall putty or just leave it.
And does it, what's its ability to collapse back in for portability? Is it once you open it up, and then is it designed so you can close it back and travel with it, or what are those hinges not made to be open and closed multiple times? Or
yeah, absolutely. It can open and close multiple times. This unit we're standing in has been open and closed multiple times, and for certain use cases that makes sense, and that's what people will do for it. Otherwise, if you are fixing it permanently to a foundation or making other modifications, you can get to a point where you're maybe doing something that's more permanent. Yeah, lots of options here. It's going to be very customizable. You know, people want to modify these things, they totally can, and they can certainly put in different.
What else is customizable as far as how it looks?
We're trying to stay away from any customization, but certainly people are going to modify these on site. And if you want to add on an exterior siding, yeah, you can absolutely do it. Our goal is to provide a kind of a universal building box that's architecturally neutral to builders so that we can get 90% of their work done before they get the product, and it can make everything, easier and cheaper and more affordable. And those builders are definitely going to make modifications to the building on sites. Probably will be like upselling their customers on modifications and stuff like that.
Are the bathroom modules, are those built offsite by another manufacturer and then popped in there, or are they also built in-house?
No, we just do that in-house. Create the little partition walls there and fit everything out, and that'll all be done in-house. You can see up there the right here,
Yeah,
you got a mini split for heating and cooling, and that makes is a nice solution. It's very energy efficient. It seems to be more sanitary than ducting, and of course it's nice and compact for us as well to ship with.
There's no sprinklers in here, right? I'm assuming.
We have a sprinkler system engineered, and we'll probably ship with the unit. However, what we found out was that's generally something where a local engineer has to kind of sign off on those plans. It's not really part of the state modular system to have those pre-approved. So we'll probably include some type of sprinkler system in here that person can certify or connect if they want to. But really, it's not that difficult of a modification. And the way our whole unit works, it's very customizable. So I don't know if you see those lights up there. Basically, if you pop any of those lights off, you can stick your arm in, and there's space that exists to house mechanical, electrical, plumbing stuff. So, it's very customizable. For example, if I wanted to just mount a TV right here where my finger's pointing, I would just go pop this panel off up here, and then I would drop a line down and pull it right out the wall and be done. There would be no drilling through studs or cutting of sheetrock or anything like that. So we think we have a nice solution for that stuff as well.
So there's the panel, and then there's space. There's space between the wall.
Basically, what it is, the EPS foam before it goes into the wall panel assembly is cut using a computer-controlled hot wire cutter, and it basically cuts like a channel through the foam. So throughout all the floors, walls, and ceilings in here, in the foam behind the wall is space for the electrical and other stuff to go through. So it's like a network of tunnels running through the wall.
Oh, very cool. Wow, that's really interesting. So each panel has that same sort of grid or network of dropping cables in or whatever.
Yep, floors, wall, and ceiling, everything. Yeah.
The panels on the same design of the ceiling and the sidewalls, as far as the sandwich board, like the same materials.
Everything's all made out of the same stuff. Absolutely.
And what's the floor material you're standing on?
Same construction as the floor, as the walls and ceiling, but we have this. It's just like a roll of vinyl, a vinyl roll of imitation wood. It just looks really nice, super simple and easy.
If you buy a unit, is it basically ready to go for a second story down the road, or how's the strength of the walls and the floor built?
Yeah, all the units right now are engineer approved to stack up to 3 stories. In the future, we figured out some modifications that are going to allow us to go much higher as well. So then hopefully we end up being able to build anything up to maybe an 8-story building, and then that gives us really the majority of the whole market once we get up that high.
What would have to change if you got a 1-story unit to then add a second story on it? What would you have to change on the first story? as far as like structural integrity, or if you
Nothing.
built the foundation to hold that weight?
Nothing. It's totally good to go. You just stack it right up there.
You just crane on a new
Yeah, and actually,
wide container and fold it out and snap it in.
yep, exactly. And then also, we don't think people are going to have to use a crane all the time. They're pretty lightweight, about 10,000 pounds. So oversized forklift or telehandler could probably do it as well. And that might be a cheaper option to reduce some of those install costs. Here's on the folded unit here. So that's power, hot water heater. And then this would be for the air conditioning. So basically you're just gonna drop the unit down and plug utilities right into the exterior. And that's nice because it's just pretty quick and easy. So we tried hard to make sure this would not have to be connected from the bottom, like underneath the unit, because that makes things a little more difficult.
Yeah.
So you have the mini split system, and that's just gonna connect on there and power. And this is an on-demand hot water heater as well. So it's another compact solution. This is an example of what the walls are made out of. It's just steel and foam. It's just like rock solid, very, very strong. The shippable, folded up, is about 12 high, 8.5 wide, and 20 long.
Once you're up and running, how quickly do you anticipate building the units from sort of first conversation of finalizing design to delivery? Like what would that process look like on your first production run?
We're just going to be cranking these things out on the assembly line as fast as we can. Right now, it's sized so that each house just be on the assembly line for a few days from start to finish. Each station will be about 2.5 hours. So a station might be paint, or it might be window install, or electric, and it'll just be an assembly line, and the product will be moving through the factory, through those different assembly lines, and we'll be refining the process on an ongoing basis to hopefully be producing thousands of these, in a few years.
And who are you partnering with for production? Do you have unions working out of there, or what trades do you have working out of the factory?
It's not necessarily going to be a trade, more of a technician job. You have like skilled trades in the field, and that's one of the things we're trying to get away from. We just want people, doing repeatable tasks in the factory with low skill and a lot of efficiency because they're doing the same task over and over. We've also partnered with Porsche to help us design and develop the whole factory, in their words, to help us build houses the way they build cars. Until someone gets housing on a production line, and hopefully it'll be us, but until that happens, is it going to continue to be unaffordable? And it's just like common sense. The example I used in one of my videos is, what if you ordered a car and a bunch of guys showed up in your driveway with like hammers and like blocks of steel and started like banging away and building a car in your driveway? Obviously that'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, and you have everyone driving 100 miles in for their trade for that particular time too. It's like like driving 3 hours round trip.
And when you think of housing, that's like normal, but it doesn't need to be that way, And once we get these things onto the assembly line, I think the costs are going to drop to a level where it's going to be world changing. I think you can build more than one ADU in every backyard in California now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty serious. Otherwise it's just going to be, there's going to be minimum building size requirements, and obviously you have to build the appropriate building in the appropriate part of town, and all that kind of thing. And our customers are going to basically present their local building department with this state-approved modular building plans. So that process should be also more streamlined. Additionally, the inspections that would usually happen on site with a site-built house. That's all going to happen in our factory. So less interactions for our customer with their local building department, where they're, waiting for some local government bureaucrat to slow the process down. That's going to be eliminated with this modular process.
And so it sounds like, given you're targeting the ADU market and maybe more of the retail customers for now, like how does that customer relationship set up? So a customer says, hey, I want a Boxabl home. Do they have to then find a GC in their area that is familiar with your technology, or how do you have like a list of preferred GCs, or how does that work?
Yep. So what we're going to do is the customer would come to our website. They decide they want to buy one. They'll put down a small deposit to reserve it. And then we'll send them over to permits.com, where they'll tell permits.com, all right, this is what I want to build. This is where I'm at. And permits.com will find out from zoning, the building department, okay, are you even allowed to do that? And then once that answer is yes, then we'll send them over to a loan pre-approval person, and that get the loan pre-approved for whatever they need. And then at that point, we'll send them to one of our local, authorized Boxabl installers, who's a local contractor, and they'll give them a quotation for the remainder of the work on whatever it is that they want to do.
So that's a general contractor in Los Angeles, for example.
Exactly. Yep.
Do you have them already lined up?
We have a big growing list of people interested in becoming installers. So a lot of people from that area, obviously, because ADUs are popular there.
And there's some kind of training certificate program, or?
Yeah, we haven't started it yet, but we're going to give them all some training and approvals. It's really not difficult. And we've spent a lot of time while designing and engineering this product to make it not difficult. And, it wasn't simple to make it simple, but now we think the product is going to be very simple. And then, but we will additionally, train those guys.
So I don't know if the videos and the animation show like how people are unpacking it, but it basically, like, two people, given the lightweight components, could unpack this house on site without any other machines besides, the crane or the forklift to bring it onto the foundation.
Yeah, and it's even possible to do it without the crane or forklift, depending on the specific situations. Like, we would drop this off the truck just using some jacks, and the driver would leave.
Yeah.
If he can drop it onto the foundation, depending on the type and the size and all that, or if there's a situation where there's no foundation or something, that gets dropped down, and then the actual unfolding can actually happen with just kind of like brackets and a winch or something. You don't actually need heavy equipment to unfold it. Definitely need heavy equipment to stack it, and in most cases to place it onto the foundation, but we're trying to reduce all of that kind of thing as much as we can.
What's the warranty on the various components?
I think that we haven't set the warranty, but there are some legal requirements of what we're required to warranty. And then in addition, I think we'll sell like an upsell where people can get X year warranties or something along those lines.
All right. Well, so we've seen a lot of innovative, unique aspects of this housing solution. What would you say is the most innovative?
It's all the work that we've kind of done behind the scenes to make this thing compatible with a real highly automated assembly line style factory. Everyone, when they see this right away, they see, oh, it looks nice. Oh, it's folds. That's cool. But no one knows actually what's gone into engineering the walls and everything. And that the real secret here is that this thing is going to work in the factory process.
So it's manufacturable and simple on-site assembly.
Yep, definitely.
What would you say the most misunderstood aspect is of this housing typology that you're sort of reinventing or inventing in a way?
Oh, occasionally we hear the manufactured housing thing where people compare it to like a low quality trailer home. Obviously, once they dive in a little bit, they realize that's not what it is. And they should also understand too that this is kind of a building system, and it's not necessarily targeted directly to the end user as like a final solution. It's more of a component to achieve a final build, where we've taken a lot of the stuff out of the builder's hands on site and made it a little bit simpler.
What's the feedback so far from general contractors on integrating this into their home construction model?
Oh, they love it. They're going crazy. And we weren't sure what to expect, because there's a big difference from the opinion of a random, end user, and then an actual builder who's actually does this stuff every day. And the reaction we get from them every day in emails is great. And the reaction we got in person at the builder show when we debuted this was amazing too. And those are the guys that really get it, and they get why we've done certain stuff, because they understand the problems that it solved for them.
And what are you working on in the next iteration?
So we have a whole bunch of improvements that we've made from this version here to the next version. And we've got, kind of custom equipment and various tooling and stuff on the way to make those changes. A lot of them were centered around reducing the weight and making a few problems we bumped into a little simpler. And I'll also mention too, another thing that's going on right now is this capital raise that we're doing. So, we've invested our own money getting to where we're at, and now we're ready to bring on partners, investors to fund a real big factory that's kind of out of our own personal reach. So we did set up that capital raise now. If anyone's interested in checking it out, it's hosted currently on wefunder.com/Boxabl. And it's going well so far. We're trying to raise 10 million and have sold 3 million so far.
And so what's your timing on that? What's the deadline, or when you're trying to close that by?
I think actually we're going to change our strategy on that a little bit, because investments from the general public went so well and so fast. I think we're going to set up the capital raise to be more targeted towards those people. But basically, we have everything we need to, rock and roll. We're not held back by money. And I think that at the rate it's coming in, we'll be good in the future when we have to make some other bigger purchases. But, we're moving forward right now. We've ordered a whole bunch of manufacturing equipment. We've hired people, things are moving. So we'll see some progress soon.
Well, for those prospective investors out there, what's the minimum capital contribution or minimum investment?
It's just $1,000.
It's like crowdfunded.
Yeah, it definitely is. We started with the Reg CF, which let us take $1 million from unaccredited investors. We've now got way more than that from unaccredited. Actually, we got so much that we're gonna have to give like over $1 million back, because we're legally not allowed to accept more than $1 million from the unaccredited. But because that was such a big success, we did decide to file for a Reg A offering, and we'll see how that goes. But that will be more targeted towards the crowd investor kind of person.
And that capital is going towards really just building out the assembly line. Looks like you already now have the factory space, and just kind of gearing up the staffing and factory production. Yeah,
it'll be great to hire some more people and order more equipment and bulk buy some of the raw materials that we need and all that kind of thing.
Anything you wanted to expand upon?
At the end of the day, what we're using here is we haven't totally reinvented the wheel with these building materials. So, most of the time, if anyone was living in a house like this with these building materials, it would just be built one-off on site. It would, as kind of like a single prototype. Anyway, I mean, that's how most houses are. So our situation obviously much better because we have repeatability and testing and all that kind of thing.
Well, Galliano, thank you so much for the tour of the Boxabl, the Casita. I really appreciate your time.
All right, we'll keep you updated. Thank you for your time.